Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's vOLTHA TST. Thanks for joining. As recall is public and recorded, and will be shared on YouTube. So please be mindful of the comments you make and the information you share, given that it will be released publicly. So first of all, we have had effectively the code freeze last Friday. There are a couple of elements that well, especially one that was pending that I merged yesterday, which was vOLTHA libgo update to send events of ONU and OLT deletion that still has a minor change to be done in the vOLTHA core. And that to me was a fairly closed and small change that it could go in. We will update the vOLTHA libgo in the core. The patch is up already, and we will do on a per need basis, given that also Ken is most likely working on something or in vOLTHA libgo, as we will talk about later. What I wanted to do also today is spend a little bit of time going over the open JIRAs, especially some that or not really, that I don't really know about too much. The good thing is that we don't have too much stuff open, and most of these are bugs, so this is good. Or testing, which is also good as well. There were a few, like in progress, I really don't see anything that should be moved out. Anything is either testing as this one, or this one, or it's bugs like these three. Maybe the only one is this one. I know, Ken, you commented on it yesterday, commenting that this is not really something that we can do right now. So what I would most likely suggest is to move this to vOLTHA 2.10 or actually future. Would you agree, Ken?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay. Perfect. In the to-do issues, there are a few more that I'd like to discuss. The storage constraints, Andrea needs some metrics, so I believe we'll move, we can move this out. This is just disk space occupancy. So I would say vOLTHA 2.10. It's just disk space occupancy. He needs some metrics before he can proceed. Most of these are bugs or documentation. This is like documentation. This one I don't really know anything about. It's assigned to Odzger Serkan. Maybe you know, Mahir. Maybe you know something.
Actually, I don't have any idea.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I'll ask Odzger about this one. Okay. Okay, so this one I need to follow up. Maybe it is actually a bug rather than a story. Actually, the way I read this, it's actually a bug. So let me move it to bug and leave it in. Theo, the different port speeds via CLI for BBSIM, should we keep this in or move it out?
That's definitely not a bug, so we can move it to 2.10.
Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Oops. all of these are either bugs or the only one that is left over is this summon error variables, which I have. It was created by you, David, and I do not think we can work this one out right now. What do you think?
I think David is not here.
Oh, I didn't have the participant list open. Oh, good point.
I don't think this is for this conference.
Okay, then let me move it out. Let's say a 2.10 thing. And I will also have to do a better planning for 10 and see what's there, but I'll take care of that myself. The rest of it is mostly bugs that we need to clear before the release. And yeah, we should focus on these the most. So if you have some time, please take a look at the either in progress bugs or in do bugs, and see if you can fix any of these. I'll make sure that we also clear up some of these. I think that for 463 it's not still there. But also Girish is not on the meeting because he's on PTO. So I'll follow up with him about this one. I'll do some due diligence to make sure that the list is updated. But please make sure that if you know about some bugs that were fixed or some things that were done, that they are up to date in here. Anything on the Jira? No. Okay. Good. Okay, the other time there was a little bit of still a missing element on the cleaning up of etcd resources that got fixed by Girish, and that was done as part of the resource manager, and this has been done. On another note, we have seen some more issues related to the container restart due to the disconnection, the reconnection. There's a thread on Slack about that. So Ken, I was wondering if there is any update on that streaming API that putting in place to better check the status of the adapters connection and core connection.
No, there's no update. I started to take a look at it. The code work in progress that I submitted, that was based on the quite old code. So I will need to abandon that and really cut and paste what I made there, like this one, the one that you're showing. This is based on very old code. So I will need to cut and paste those changes into new repos and test out things. I remember before I had one bug that that I was having a problem to figure out. I was not so sure whether it was part of the vOLTHA libgo or something in the vOLTHA adapter. So it's something that I will need to look.
Okay, so I feel that this is a fairly key point that the release cannot proceed without. So feel free to reach out to us for help, because we do need this merged before the release, because we're seeing many problems. And I mean, there's I think you noticed that the thread with Michael, that he has some thoughts on this, and also points out some issues due to the race. I wouldn't say race conditions, but still timing based operations that happen depending on the presence or the absence of the connection to the core, to the other adapters.
Yeah, that's correct. It's one thing though. It's this change will bring a little bit more predictability to things. But if there's an error in the system, for example, like the vOLTHA adapter goes down during reconciliation, we'll get to the same stage. So it's like having a little bit better error handling in the adapters will help
Mhm.
as well. Because at the end of the day, it's something that will be required, because even if we have perfect connection, an error can happen during reconciliation,
Mhm.
and we need to be able to clear that, because this is that's really the root cause why currently we can't do that, right? Like currently we're sending a message to an OLT adapter cannot reach us, so we time out, we try once, and that's it, right? So those kind of error situations, I think, will still needs to be handled, like by having streaming there, that will help to reduce that that frequency, but there is still a likelihood that an OLT adapter can go down, or the device may not be reachable. There's a lot of error condition that can happen. So when those things happen, we need to be able to clean up and get out gracefully.
Yeah, I agree. Let's discuss this whenever it happens, I would say.
Okay.
So let's put in a fix first and then see what happens. That is my take.
Okay, because we are testing against a very prescribed set of test cases.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so if we change the test case slightly, maybe we'll see something different, right?
I know. It's just the nature of the things that are there right now, and how they work. It's just that. There's really no other way to put it.
Okay, no issues.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Ken on this? Again, as I said, Ken, feel free to reach out if you need some help. It would be good to have this maybe even as a draft by the end of the week, even before that, so we can then take it and run it into our tests to see if there is any improvement or things that could have been done better. You know, the usual deal with these type of patches.
Yeah, for sure. It's something that that's my goal. But first, I will need to make sure that I no longer have that bug that I was saying before, because it at least it needs to pass in my environment.
Yeah. And if you need help on that bug as well, just let me know. We can take a look at it, or maybe you can get some suggestion from us.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay, sounds great. Okay. On the OpenOLT app rewrite, we merged it. Tests look okay. There are a couple of issues that we are seeing, and we are still investigating if it's either a Nonos issue or a vOLTHA application issue or a vOLTHA issue. Theo, do you want to give us a little bit of an update on this one?
Yeah, so it's the tests look pretty fine. We are observing a couple issues that are time dependent during the device removal or disable, depending on the case. Basically, sometimes the flow deletion arrives to OF agent after, well, Onos tries to send the flow deletion after the OpenFlow connection with OF agent has been removed. And so in that case, we end up in a little bit of a weird state that we're still investigating, in which a flow in Onos is stuck in pending remove, and it's not present in vOLTHA, so vOLTHA is not removing. It shouldn't be the case that the flow is stuck in pending remove as we purge all the flows when the device is gone. But that seems to be what is happening. So we're investigating that, and hopefully it shouldn't be too hard of a fix.
Matteo, as far as I read from the messages in Slack channel, there's also some problem in multicast service provisioning. Is that the same problem with the problems you mentioned now?
No, but I'm not. So I had a conversation with Tuanan like a month or so ago with issues with not really with the multicast service per se, but with provisioning services independently. But that should have been fixed last week. And there was also a fix that went in on the multicast service meters. Is there anything still open?
I'm not sure, but the last week I checked with the Tunahan, he said there's still some problem or answers perhaps waiting from you. I'll check with Tunahan again. Okay.
I can ping him directly. I spoke with him last week, and there was this small issue with the multicast meters that was fixed before merging the app last week.
Okay,
but I'll touch base with him to make sure there is nothing pending still.
Okay.
We also have Hardik working on a test that will specifically provision the services one by one for the Torque Telecom case. So we'll have an automated test for that.
Okay. Thank you, Matteo.
Sure.
And Serkant, we actually do test the multicast. For example, in this one that I'm showing here, one of these 6, I don't remember which one, is the multicast service, and we seem to have it working with iPerf and the usual test. So the test that was passing before the merging of the app is actually passing up. So we don't seem to have any issues or see any issues. We'll check with Tunan, but as far as we are concerned, everything looks good. And I also know that Hardik extended, with the help of your team, Yazin, and a few other folks, the multicast tests. Hardik, is there anything you want to add?
Yes, so apart from this, so this test runs as part of Sanity. Other than this, we have a few more test cases added for multicast, and some more are in progress. So yeah, so far all are working fine. Yeah, so I think multicast is working fine on our pod, so I don't see any issue with that.
Okay, this new tests are also running with this new OLT application. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's merged in master, so it is running on all of our tests everywhere.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mahir.
Thanks, Mahir. Okay. Okay. So on the IPv6 support, I don't know if Mahir, you guys have any update. Well, we have not yet started with a test for that. We didn't really have the time to do it. We will see if there is time before the release. If not, we will just skip it to a 2.10. But is there any update, any questions that you have for this topic that we need to discuss with the group?
I don't have any right now, Andrea.
Okay. And maybe something that I forgot to mention. Well, I didn't put here because it's a longer discussion, but a BBF ONF update I can give to everybody. So with BBF last week we had a call, and they were. It was very useful, although it took some time to get agreement on a few things, but we agreed that we are going to start by looking at what we call the northbound APIs, or high-level vOLTHA workflows. So I actually started a document based on the CIBA reference design, which include all the different operations that we do on the OLT, on the ONT, and the service management. And there are a few others. So what this document is the base for us to send it to BBF. And I already done that. And this is taken from the CIBA reference design, so it is being agreed by the different operators. And the idea is that now we get into a discussion and a few set of meetings with the BBF to map these calls to their Yang models, okay, to the BBF APIs. And in this way, the idea is that we will produce a design document of a component that maps these calls, which are or our own calls, either in the DMI or the vOLTHA protos, to the BBF APIs, so that through this component, vOLTHA can be plugged in to any system that speaks the BBF APIs. BBF APIs that I remember everybody are netconf based with the Yang models. I am talking to them to see if it is possible to carry those Yang models over GNMI instead. That would be, to me, a very good forward-thinking option for us and them. So we would not have to implement the netconf protocol, which is, as most of you know, very painful. But so this is the update from my side. I know that David also joins the BBF calls regularly. So David, if you have anything that you kind of want to share with the group, or anything that you want to bring up, maybe as a discussion point, I would be open for that.
I'm good at this point.
Okay.
I still think that, yeah.
So that is the current state of things with BBF. I think that I have to say it's progressing forward, and this is what I actually like. We have now established a very good relationship with Tim and the rest of the group. There are some discussions if ONF would join the BBF as a member or not. So there's things around there that we need to discuss, but the path forward, it is set. And this is kind of what we call the phase one, to integrate the northbound. In a second phase would be to then have the capability to produce an adapter that manages a BBF specified device, so a BBF API based device on the southbound, so it can be plugged into vOLTHA for the functions that vOLTHA can operate. And for the other functions, so there will be other interfaces talking directly to the OLT. And the third phase that was kind of identified with the group is eventually the possibility of integrating what they call vOMCI. For those of you who don't know what these vOMCI are, or effectively, the concept is very similar to our OpenONU adapter. The issue is yet again that all the APIs are different. So we would probably have to do an ONU adapter that talks the BBF APIs to these vOMCI functionalities. And the idea is that through the vOMCI, every vendor can bring in their own OMCI target. This is for sure completely different from our approach. And we should still pursue the open OMCI approach, which has proved very valuable for now and has proven very useful for the operators as well. And that is still our primary goal. But if the time comes and the interest is there from operators and vendors that work with us to have this vOMCI functionality plugged into the system, we might end up doing it. But it's a third phase, it's far down the road. The idea is really to start with this first phase of integrating the northbound of vOLTHA, so that we get into the process, and then we can continue on that. So if anybody has any particular thoughts on this, I forgot to share. There is also a presentation. Let me grab it for you guys.
So Andrea,
Yeah.
so do you think will we start any implementation phase with vOLTHA 2.10 or 2.11? Any idea? Or any
So
thoughts? Or we will just go through, yeah, just try to understand the architecture and maybe make a documentation and not to start with the implementation. So what will be the output? I'm wondering.
It's a very good point. So at the moment, we have not scoped this because still to me, it's not clear the amount of work that is needed.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see the presentation here about the different components, the things that I've outlined. You guys can go through it if you're interested. You can then ping me and I can circulate it within the group. And I would be also interested in hearing experts like, I don't know, for example, for the VOMCI chip, if you have anything, you can reach out to me, we can have a discussion. Regarding what you were asking, the idea is that we need, given that we don't really know how much of work this is, in theory, it's just API translation. So it shouldn't be that difficult, but we have to scope it in terms of the roadmap. The 2.10 roadmap, which it's not yet finalized 100% with the operators, and we will do that before the Christmas break. Still already includes a lot of stuff. So I'm not sure if we're going to do that, but this is also work that can be done in parallel by somebody from the community that is interested and decides to put resources into it. So also here, the idea is, let's get together, let's define these interactions with the different components. Let's define what is the scope of the work, how much needs to be done, what can or cannot be done, if it is capable of being done only in this component, or it needs to be done also in vOLTHA, or like what changes does this integration entail. And then after we have a clear set of elements that we know that needs to be changed or need to be done, we can then scope it in the roadmap as we usually do. And it's also very much an operator-based decision to prioritize this over other features, or again, somebody from the community can come in and contribute.
I got it. Another question I have is, you haven't mentioned in the BBF ONF meeting that we are also thinking about replacing the ONOS, because you didn't mention, I didn't want to start the discussion in the BBF meeting, but we are also thinking of replacing the ONOS with simpler components. I think that might also change the big picture in BBF ONF integration. Will we think about that or not? I don't know.
So that's a good point. I have not brought it up because I would think that it would just confuse waters and things. It would make even more mess, because that is so the solution that is there right now with the current ONOS, the current core and everything is very clear to us. We know what it can do. We know where we can plug in and all of that. So it is a clear-cut thing that we can explain simply to BBF and they can understand simply as well. The issue of start introducing the idea of changing ONOS is that it is not yet clear to us exactly what we're going to do there. And we're still going through design discussions internal to ONF to what is the best. And we started the discussion with you. I have a discussion with the Deutsche Telekom team as well. So that's an in progress thing. And I thought that it would just complicate the relationship with BBF. And also, in my mind, I would hope that the separation of concerns between vOLTHA and this component that we started thinking about is good enough that we can at some point remove ONOS existing version and put in the new version without too much of a hassle. And that would be an internal thing. I do agree that some of the elements that we will have to put into this new ONOS could be mapped to some of the BBF functionality. Yes, that is true. Yes, that is true. But for that, I still need to have a better grasp of exactly how and what we want to implement in the newer version of ONOS to then make a try to map the functionality and see if it can be done maybe with some BBF APIs. But yet again, I think it's a little bit too not clear to commit to anything to the BBF group. That is why I'm sticking with the current solution.
So, Andrea, the way I understand it is that phase one with BBF is any way to create an API translation layer.
Yes.
And so at that point, whether that layer talks with ONOS or a different component, it's an internal choice. And if we realize that the internal component can replace that API shim layer, then at a certain point we can just chop off the shim layer and have BBF talking directly to the new component.
Yes, it is. Yes, I totally agree, Theo. That is why I said it should be that we can swap in and out the ONOS for the new version. It is although true that within the BBF document, some of the functionalities that we have in ONOS, say the HCPL2 relay, say PPPoE, say AAA and other things, have their own set of APIs. So in theory, we could disaggregate those functions within the new ONOS controller using the BBF APIs. But it is, as I said, a little bit more complicated, at least in my mind. And also, I still have to understand very much what the BBF APIs can or cannot do. And that is also why I feel that phase one with the translation layer is the perfect start, because it helps us get into the BBF mindset, the BBF ideas, the BBF groups, and it enables us to understand a lot better how they work, how we can work with them, and things like that.
Yeah, what I meant was that the moment you have this API translation layer and you start creating a component, so this translation layer takes BBF APIs, BBF models on the northbound and whatever we accept on the southbound, right?
Yes, yes. Yep.
If we start creating the new component that directly exposes BBF API, this translation layer starts becoming a pass-through for some of the functionalities.
Yes.
And if we manage to replace all of them, then you just remove the translation layer and you're good. So it's something that can be done in step, regardless of what we do with ONOS.
Yes, it is partially true. We can go into details when maybe on another call. This is not exactly the right time, I think. But yes, 90% it's true. Yes, agreed.
Yeah, thank you, Andrea. Matteo.
No problem. Any other questions or comments?
Not about BBF ONF update, but I also wonder what is the scale test status about the vOLTHA 2.9. I just checked and I didn't see any successful scale test in the Jenkins jobs. So
yeah,
the status of the scale test is that we are having an open rebellion going on in the cluster. So when the cluster is stable, the test is actually passing, but for some reason that I cannot understand and is driving me nuts, that cluster is not working as expected at all.
So what happens, Zerkant, is that most of the time something gets stuck in the deletion process. So the next time, the next iteration, it fails to actually provision the cluster. It's not even a failure of the test itself. It's not even, we cannot even get to the vOLTHA test. So then Theo clears it by hand, does some magic in Docker. It works for 1-2 runs. We get a couple of clean runs. It most like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, those 2 runs work. So we get some good results. And that is when we we decided to merge the app because we cleaned up the cluster, made sure it worked, and we got some successful runs. And when Theo looks at it over the monitor, stares at it, this guy behaves. But when we leave it for the weekend, we left it for Thanksgiving, hopefully to get some good runs, it all acts up and goes bad. The most likely reason is that those clusters have the NVMe disk that we put in for vOLTHA 2.8 to have the persistency enabled for etcd, but we have the system running on another disk and Docker running on that NVMe disk. So it is possible that things get a little bit messy. Also, these are kind of, how can you call them? Peculiar servers that are very powerful, and they're actually one chassis rack with multiple blades. We got them from an old deployment with other projects. So this is what we have. They're not like our normal servers that we use for the rest of the tests. So 1, 2, and 3. We most likely we will need to move the test to use move the cluster to be installed on the NVMe disk. We're just discussing this yesterday with the vOLTHA team. We'll see what we can do. The good note is that we did have successful runs when we managed to run it.
Andre, yeah, I got it. Do you mind opening the Jenkins page? I want to make sure myself that I am checking the right requirements. Because what I see is the last success is 4 months ago or something for vOLTHA master 10 stacks.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, so these are the 10 stacks. Leave them a little bit aside. Here are the ones we mostly focus on, because so the 10 stacks is just a 10-time repetition of this. Okay, and if this passes, also the 10 stacks pass.
Okay.
And it's also the same cluster, it has the same issues. So we focus on these 3 for now. We will turn on the 10 stacks as well as soon as we figure out the issues.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. We'll keep you posted. We'll keep you posted. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you, I'm done.
No problem. Okay. Okay, anything else you guys want to bring up? Any other comments or questions that you have for the group? Okay, then if not, we get some minutes back, which is great. And I'll see you again next week. Please, as I said, take care of the JIRAs that are assigned to you in terms of bugs. If you have nothing assigned and you have free time, pick a bug, dive into it, ask us questions on the channels or come directly to me, and then we can discuss what's the best approach. And let's get this release out and then focus on 2.10. I will share an initial draft of the 2.10 roadmap with the TST members to get their feedback. It is started to be approved by the operators with a certain priority, and I also want to feel what people think about amount of work and things like that. Okay, thanks everybody. Cheers. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.